Hello, everybody. This is Alia Jamal, the love coach, and today we are meeting for another love circle. And today we have a very sweet and wonderful light topic. We are not doing any big digging or going deeper. Today we are talking about how to create your future self. And we are going to become aware of the nuances that hold us back, the things that I am saying about myself, the things that I'm thinking about myself unconsciously, and I don't even know that they are the one that are holding me back. So that is what today is going to be about. I'm going to show you 4 different steps that you will be taking to create this future self. So let's get into why do we even want to create a future self? Inherently, humans are supposed to grow. If a person is not growing, they are dying inside of them. You might have met a person who's maybe a little bit older than you. You're meeting them, an aunt or uncle, you're meeting them after 10, 20 years, and you feel like they're just dead inside. The last time you met them, they're so full of life. They're alive. Their body is healthy, but it seems like their light is just dimming. So that is what happened when we are not continuously growing, because our nature is to grow. We are here to transform ourselves. Even when we leave this body, we're going to continue on that journey. Whether you like it, you don't like it, that is just who we are in this universe. But when we start doing that process consciously, when we join forces with the universe and we're like, I'm going to be part of this energy that's always changing, that is always evolving, and I'm going to be part of that. That is when we start to become more of light, and we start to draw that light within us to outward and start sharing it with everybody. That's when you sometime maybe meet a person after 10, 20 years and you'd be like, what did you do? You look so much younger. You look so much more vibrant. That person is growing intentionally. So we want to create our future self intentionally. When we feel stuck in a situation, what's going on, we are so focused on who I am today. I am so focused on that I can't even create or grab who I can be tomorrow. So this process is about to change that. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have a list over here, 6 mental faculties. Today, I'm going to introduce you to them a little bit more, and I'm going to show you how we will be using mental faculties to create our future self. You can take the same process and you can create whatever else you want. We do have a built-in creative mechanism within us that we can use anytime consciously and create what we want. We are always using it unconsciously and creating whatever you're living right now. Whatever harmony or chaos you're living, you have used your mental faculties unconsciously to create that. Once I learned that, and I became very aware the kind of life I want to create, I have created real magical moments using these mental faculties, things that would blow my own mind that, oh my God, I've been able to create that. So let's dig in. First, we are going to talk about that this desire to transform, this desire to be more of who you can be. It comes from your heart. Generally, the way we are taught in the society, the conditioning we go through, we are taught to stay here. So when I stay here, I want more money. I want to look more beautiful than who? I'm always comparing myself to somebody. I want more money than maybe my sibling, maybe my parents, maybe my friend. When we stay here, we are constantly comparing ourselves. We are going to come into our heart. So we're just going to put our hand onto our heart, and just feel into, who do I want to be? Our desire truly has to come from here. If I come up here, I'm just going to try to compare myself to the last billboard I saw, the last ad I saw on YouTube or Netflix, wherever you're consuming your stuff and you're getting the marketing messages. And whether you watch TV or not, we are consistently getting marketing messages just by existing on this plane. Even if you're eating a box of cereal, there is marketing on it. Consistently, you're being told who you need to be. So we need to come into your heart and really feel into, who do I want to be? That is the first thing. We don't want to do this process from our head. Head is comparison, judgment. Heart is my truth, my true self, because that's how I feel. I get connected to my soul. The soul, when it comes into the incarnated body, which this is, it connects at the heart chakra. So that's why I'm putting my hand over here. I really want to feel into who I am. If I can truly embody the soul, the power that I am, the invisible power that I'm not even aware of. So that is how we're going to do this process. So the first step that we are going to do, we are going to create the image. And before I get deep into that, let me share the mental faculties with you. So the first one is imagination. I'm just going to have them over here so we can refer to them. And I'll see in a bit if you guys can even see it. Okay. Trying to write bigger so we can see it. Imagination. And the second one is will. Third one is, I want to make sure I can get all of them here, perception. And I'm also going to, as we go through it, I'll show you how you're using them right now to create whatever chaos you're going through right now, or whatever wonderful stuff you're going through right now. And, you know, this work is truly something that we do every single day. Like before, earlier today, when I was just preparing for this call, my thoughts were running more on the negative end of things than usually. There were two very specific thoughts came, and I was able to switch it back to whatever I wanted to be right away, because one, I was aware, and the second, I know how to play with these friends, how to use them for my benefit, and not to let them run so wild they create whatever they create. Okay, so imagination. You can imagine anything. Anything you can imagine, you can create it in your reality. That is the power each and every single human have. Now think about something that you imagine. Maybe you're just sitting there daydreaming and it wasn't very pleasant, but you stayed in that imagination. And then over time, maybe after 10, 20 years, you had that experience. The thing that completely flipped me, I started living the things I used to imagine and all the negative ones. And that happened in 2017. And when that started to happen, I became even more interested in learning the stuff that I have learned so far. And eventually it became my life path. That time I had no intention. We are using our imagination all the time. Today, we are going to focus on how to master your imagination in a way that you are the one driving it. It's not just being driven by outside influences or your past memories or your childhood trauma. We can control that. Will. So will is, you can also think of it in terms of focus. Whatever you're going to will to have or be or do, you can create it. But because what will does, it's almost like you have, I think it was concave glass or one of those glass, forgetting my physics class. You'll put it on the paper and it will take the sun rays and it will focus it on a point to the point that the paper will start burning. And when I was a little kid, that was just so cool that I can put this glass on top of this paper and the paper will catch fire. That glass that you're putting, that is your will and that is your focus. We all have that power within us. And we all have experience when we really willed something, we made it happen. Now we are going to start exercising that faculty every single day. The next one is perception. Perception is so powerful that a lot of teachers that I have studied with, they say, just focus on perception, everything else will fall in place. So what perception is? Whatever I'm perceiving, whatever I'm assuming will happen. Now, in order for me to do that, there's so many opposite forces. I am dealing with the memory. Maybe I have a negative memory, and now I'm assuming everything is going to turn out perfect. So I really have to use my focus, will, my imagination to hold that vision right in front of me. So perception is assuming what you want, not saying, but Alia, the reality is you create your reality. You're going to create the person who you're going to become. So we are going to be talking about perception. And the next one is intuition. I know, but when we first come to think about intuition, we're like, I feel it in my body. It's in my body. How could it be faculty of my mind? When we are talking about mind, it's not just our brain. So it's the conscious and unconscious mind together. Your whole body is part of your unconscious mind. Science still is trying to understand mind. We understand brain, but we are still trying to understand mind. But something is just my own personal opinion. There is a gland in the middle of our brain called pineal gland. So on a spiritual journey, the meditation that I do or hatha yoga that I practice, all the meditations surround around decalcifying and activating that pineal gland, because that is your kind of like your connection between the non-physical and the physical world. So people who have activated their pineal gland and they are able to connect with their non-physical self, their intuition becomes very sharp. So that is how intuition is part of our mental faculties. And kids, they have perfect pineal gland. But when we switch from like when we turn 12-year-old, that is if we are not doing meditation, it's going to start calcifying. And also there are some things in our food. Some people say like, they have been added there for a reason. And some people say we just didn't know and we added. Fluoride is one of them. It's added into our water. It's added into each one of our toothpaste. When we go to the dentist, we get like a fluoride thing on our added on our teeth, but fluoride actually calcifies your pineal gland. So once I learned about it, I do try to keep as much added fluoride out of my system as possible. But I do make sure I'm taking foods that naturally do have fluoride, because that is something we really need. But we don't want to add the extra and put that chemical toll on our body and disturb the natural balance that God created. So kids, if you look at kids, they are so connected to their intuition, to their imagination. They would sometimes tell you, I just saw an angel, I was talking to an angel. They are so familiar with that word. But us adults, we just get stuck in our current reality and we cannot imagine beyond that. So just wanted to share a little bit about that. And then reason. So reason is when you can really sit there and you can get yourself out of that negative hole that you get into. For example, if you're afraid, you can ask yourself, is this fear real? Or is it my imagination running wild right now? So that is a faculty of your mind. Your heart, it just knows that, this thing that I'm seeing is not real. But it's your mind, the imagination is driving you crazy. So you involve your mind, you ask yourself question. That is the reason part that we have. The last one is memory. Memory is so fascinating. We remember whatever we want to remember, and we can actually change it. So when I did my healing work of the past. I'm still doing it when I take my clients through it. Let's say there's an incident in the past and the memory keeps coming and it keeps disturbing them. Once we have completed the process of start releasing or releasing it to a good extent, they can think of the same memory. One, they don't get triggered. And the second, they don't feel as bad. And third, at some point, they start feeling like, I had some pleasant things around that too. But because of the trauma, only the negative things are standing out. So we are going to play with our memory as we create our future self as well. Because you might remember that you have been a total loser. You might remember you fail at whatever you start. We are going to change that memory to that you do succeed. We are going to look at all the parts of you where you did do good. So we are playing with the memory. We are even changing the memory. Sometimes we remember, oh, I got a B when I was in high school. I got all Bs. So we'll look at the same memory and we would perceive it in a different way where we'd be like, oh, wow, I actually got all Bs. That's pretty good. So that is how we can play with it. So when I have a memory, and I recently, earlier this week, telling you guys in real time, I'm usually tell my story when I'm on the other side, but I'm still in the middle of it. So earlier this week, a memory came from the past and it really put me into a spin. I stayed grounded. I'm still doing the work and I know how I can completely shift that memory. But if it's coming to a surface, there's more to be released. But at the same time, it's not controlling me anymore. It's not defining who I am being anymore. That is the magic that happens, that once we have done this work, creating that future self, and we are doing it every single day, a past memory is not going to pull the rug out of your feet, under your feet. Okay, so that was a little bit about the mental faculty. So now let's get into, we are going to create that image. So I would invite you to close your eyes with me. When we close our eyes, we turn our outer senses more inward, we can receive more. Take a deep breath, relax your body, put your feet on the ground, uncross your body if it's crossed. And we are going to use our imagination and we are going to use our intuition to go into the future, 3 years into the future. And I'm going to do this with you guys in real time. I'm doing it for myself. So 3 years into the future. Where are you? What are you doing? What are you wearing? Who's around you? Now, this person that you are looking at, look at that person. Don't be in your own body. Look at her. From here, look at her. Who she is, how she's dressed, how she's talking, how is she carrying herself, how's her body language, what kind of work she does, how she thinks about herself, how she talks about herself. Maybe if you're seeing a more polite version of you, how has she changed? You can even look into what kind of financial structure she has, what kind of relationship structures she has. But really focus on who she is as a woman. In order for her to be standing and being present where she is, how did she started perceiving herself differently? How she started talking to herself in a different way. Really receive that image with all your senses. What kind of fragrance she's wearing? How's her hair done? What kind of shoes she's wearing? Really get to experience it with all your senses. Even the place she's standing or sitting or laying down. How's the temperature there? Is there any fragrance in the air? And when you feel like you have fully received that image, open your eyes and now try to see the same image with your eyes open. Can you hold that? It's almost like, when I say your eyes are open, look at an apple in your inner eye, right away an apple pops in there. Now, look at that image again. Does that image pops back in? So that is the image that we are talking about. When I'm going to say hold that image, so that is the image we are talking about. Because part of the deal with our imagination is whatever image you can hold with your eyes open or you're closed, the energy that's moving through you all day long, it has no choice but to create that image. And I'm teaching that, my friend, from my own personal experience and the experience of many of my clients. And I learned it from my mentor. Creating our future is that easy, but the discipline comes where I can actually hold that image. And none of my memory and, perception is going to come and attack it, or imagination is not going to come and attack it. Now that you have that image, let me tell you, if that image didn't exist, you won't be able to imagine it. That's how this universe works. So that version of you already exists 3 years into the future. Now, what you do after today makes a difference whether you are going to be that person or not. That is free will. We all have free will. And I'll be showing you what you can do that is going to help you create her. So first look into, do you remember her? Now that your eyes are open, now that you are seeing with your physical senses as well, do you remember her? How was she talking? If you kind of peek into her mind, how was she talking to herself? How did she perceive herself? Who she thinks she is? How does she talk to other people? What kind of desires she has for herself? How does she treat herself? Really get the flavor of it while your eyes are open. So now that we have all that, the next thing we are going to do, the second step is, you're going to hold this image with your will and focus. I want this version of me 3 years into the future. There is a reason your intuition has guided you to receive this very specific image, because the truth about the universe is multiple opportunities exist at the same time for us. I'm just going to move it a little bit. So think of your life as a multiple lane highway. You can become any of that. So let's say you are in the right lane right now, and you just received a message who's in left lane. She's wonderful. She's just amazing. She's this magnetic woman that you are like, oh my God, if I can just become her. But she exists all the way over here and you're all the way over here. If you hold that image, you become her. But if you don't hold that image and you're like, this was nice, but I don't think so I can be that, you stay here. You could have also received the image that's here, here. If you hold those images, you start shifting your reality. You start becoming a different version of you. And I'm telling you, friends, once you have this experience, your life changes forever. You don't get hooked on to the reality that you're in right now, because you know everything is moldable. And you are the center of your universe and you have the power to change it. But you need to be conscious in using these mental faculties. So right now, what we are going to focus on, hold the image. We just received the image and we're going to hold the image. So the energy that's moving through you all day long creates that image, because whatever image you're holding, That's what's being created. Usually what happens, we hold the image, I'm such a loser. Outside, we are like, we are wonderful. Oh, I am so successful. I'm doing all these wonderful things. I am vibrant around my friends. But in my secret thoughts, the way I see myself really, really bad. And if you are being like, no, I don't think so, Alia, I see myself that bad, I'm okay, pay attention to how you talk about yourself. Do you ever call yourself stupid out loud? Do you ever use like other kind of derogatory terms for yourself? I mean, sometimes I hear women call themselves really interesting words. That's what I'm gonna say. And I just wonder, are they even aware of what they are saying to themselves? If they are saying that out loud, imagine what they are saying in their mind unconsciously. So this is where we have to become very, very honest with ourselves. For example, my client, they are never allowed to use the S word. And the S word is calling themselves stupid. Never, ever, ever, ever. If they say in front of me, I would just say, hey, hang on a second, you just said that. And then we move into not even say that in your mind. And that's the hard one. Because I can stop myself from saying it out loud, but in my mind, it just happens with such a flow that we don't even realize we just did that. So we are going to hold the image of who we are becoming. And then we are going to move into the third step, and that is the perception. We are really going to use our perception to pull in this person into our reality. So this person right now exists etherically, energetically. That's why you were able to see them in your visualization. That's why you were able to be there. But now we are going to make that person a physical reality. So we are going to practice perception. I am going to assume I am becoming her. I'm just going to assume every single day I'm becoming her. If for one day I am not assuming and I have forgotten because life is so busy, then I am back to assuming myself who I am today. And a lot of us, we assume ourselves to fail and be miserable and die lonely because somehow that story of misery help us connect with ourselves, and in a very creepy way, we feel good about ourselves when we sit with that story. But in that moment, we are hurting our own future. So we cannot blame God, we cannot blame universe. The person who needs to take responsibility to who I'm becoming is me. God gave me these faculties to use and become whoever I want to become. And no matter what religion you study, no matter what culture you study, what kind of spirituality you study, one thing we all have agreed on as humanity, humans have free will. This is the exercise of your free will. You can perceive yourself to become that version of you, or you can stuck in the current perception that you have. And the hardest thing to accept on the path of self-development is whatever I'm experiencing right now, that is what I've been unconsciously perceiving. The first time I learned that concept, I resisted it with every single cell of my body. And there was some time before I really surrendered into it. But now that that's how I live, no matter what happens in my life, I just ask myself, is that what you really want to create? Like even this morning, two very, very powerful negative thoughts just came into my mind. I took a deep breath and I asked myself, is that what you want to create? No, right? We don't want to create that. Why we are thinking that? That is where I am being personally responsible, controlling my perception, my imagination, staying on track. Because the part of our unconscious mind that wants you to stay safe, have kids, and then die. Because the only thing it cares about is you have produced more of you, so your generation keeps going on, because that part of you is just about survival. That part does not want you to thrive, become the highest version of you, be out in the world, sharing your light, because that's very scary. You're putting yourself out to get rejected. And rejection to that part of your mind means death. But when we involve our conscious mind, when you go out there and you share your light and you step into who you truly are, you become the highest creation ever created. You truly live that part of you. But we cannot live that when we are hidden in a corner, just playing our misery story over and over and just surviving with a good job and just staying there. That's not who we are. So back to perception. We are going to perceive, assume, I am becoming that version. I am perceiving that in 3 years, I'm going to be her. And I just received a beautiful, wonderful image. So I'm actually excited that she exists already. Another thing that really makes us move faster towards our manifestation, you can call it, or to make these kind of jump, is when we get excited. When we get excited like kids, because excitement has a very higher frequency than I'm not sure, I'm concerned, I'm a little bit scared, I'm just gonna jump right into excitement. Oh my God, I'm becoming her. Isn't that so cool? That's so wonderful. Practice that every single day. Every single day when you hold the image, join in with excitement. Be happy for yourself. Be happy for her. Be happy for the world, that the world will get to have that higher version of you. Be happy for your family. I get very excited that my son is going to have such a wonderful mom, because in 3 years, I'm going to be even more wonderful. I'm going to be even more grown. So join in that excitement. And now the last thing that we're going to talk about is taking action to create that version. Yes, it's wonderful to receive the image. It's wonderful to hold the image. It's wonderful to perceive. But all those things happen on a long term when you're involved with actions. Otherwise, it's a good story that you live for 7 days and then you're like, I'm too busy to do that. I need to just go be me again. So the actions when we are going to take, they're very, very small, very specific. Yeah, they do require inner discipline. First one is, how do you talk about yourself? So let's say you're talking to a girlfriend, you're talking to a friend, you're talking to a sister, you're talking to your mom. How do you talk about yourself? Do you talk about yourself, I'm such a loser, I can never do anything right? That's complaining. Do you complain about yourself? Do you complain about your life? And if you do, we are going to replace that by always talking about wonderful things about you. One of the things I talk about when I'm talking to my family, I always start with, I am so grateful to me that I didn't quit. I am so grateful that I kept going no matter how hard everything felt. I am so grateful, I'm so happy that when I went through my own journey, I stayed healthy. Something I was doing along the lines, maybe the food interest that I got on into in my journey, drinking green smoothies, drinking more juices, me eating more wholesome diet, eating less ice cream and less sugary stuff. Something I did right that I didn't get sick. Because the stuff that I went through, I have seen some people get pretty sick from that. So I'm so grateful. I'm always admiring myself, not really boasting about myself that, oh, look how wonderful I am and you're not. It's that sense of I admire everything I have done. But first you have to do it in your mind. When you do it in your mind, it becomes so much easier to do in your conversation. I can't even remember the last time I said something wrong towards myself. And I think this work I did more like in 2019 and 2020. I became so mindful not to say bad things about myself ever or to think about myself. The next one is what you think about yourself. Do you think you're the most magnificent being? Or do you think you're never getting anywhere? And this is where you have to do the work. I can only show you the way. Anyone can just show you the way, but in your mind, you're alone. And you would always be alone. No one can get in there with you. That is where you have to be very honest with yourself. How am I thinking about myself? That's part of perception. If you perceive yourself to be a failure, you're going to be thinking about yourself as a failure. And I personally went through that experience. There were few thoughts. I did not keep them checked. They came out, lived in a wonderful way. And I was really pissed in the beginning. And then my mentor guided me that, oh, you're just going to another level. These thoughts cannot come there. That's why you're going through this experience. It took me about 6 to 8 weeks to fully turn around my ship. But once I did that, I became even more guarded how I think about myself. That's why the two thoughts that enter into my mind today, I was so aware I caught them. They are not running around wild in my mind. That is the best real estate I have. No one can live there rent free. And thoughts don't pay any rent, so they are not coming into your territory. You have that power. You have that kind of control within you. It's not that you have to learn it, you just have to exercise it. It's your will. It's just like you live in your home. Is it possible for your neighbor to pick up all of their stuff and just move in with you? Is it possible? Would you allow that? No, you won't. You're like, no, Alia, I am paying the mortgage. I'm paying the rent. This is my space. If someone is going to come, they'll come as a guest and then they would leave. No one is coming. If we can guard our physical space like that, we do have the power to guard our mental space like that too. So it's not that you have to go and you have to learn and you have to think about it. You already have it within you. Just need to exercise also in this part of your life, or this part of your body, or this aspect of your life. Your mind needs to be guarded. If you don't want something to come true in your life, don't let it get into your mind. As soon as it comes, shift your perception for the future, and it will leave happily. So what you think about yourself is the most important thing in this whole little class that we are doing here. And the last one is how you treat yourself. So just the other day, I had a conversation with one of my clients that actions speak louder. You can tell yourself, oh, I love myself. I do all kind of self-care for myself. I really think I am wonderful. And then you are having 20-hour work day and getting only 4 hours of sleep. How you're treating yourself. Maybe at the end of it, when you burn out, you take yourself for a 4-day vacation, but how are you treating yourself every single day? Are you drinking enough water? Are you using kind words for yourself? Are you eating the best food? Are you just sitting, binge watching Netflix, hours at no end with ice cream bucket? I personally do that. I allow myself to do that once here and there, but I am doing it consciously. Okay, Alia, this is your time, watch whatever you want. But are you doing that every single day? Every single weekend, that's how you be with yourself. How are you truly treating this being? Are you taking her out? Are you giving her fun experiences? So this is where you take full responsibility that this body is a vessel. You exist because this exists. If something goes wrong with this, with your thoughts, with your actions, with your words, you're not here anymore. Game over. You'll come back whenever it's your next time to come back. So all the wonderful things we can do in human experience, we can do it just because we have a body. And we all know somebody who doesn't have a body anymore. They're back to their non-physical experience. Of course, they're having fun there too. That world have its own wonderful things to do. But if right now you feel like you're not done being a human, treat yourself well in your in the physical experiences, and also the things that you cannot see in terms of how you're thinking about yourself, what words you're saying, because your words are heard by your body. Your body hears everything, every single one of your thoughts. So one of the things you can do here is really look at what treatment I am doing right now that needs to change. So pick only one thing. We created the image. We're going to hold the image. We're going to perceive it's happening. While we are doing that, in terms of action, what is one thing you're going to drop the way you talk about yourself? One thing, only one thing. I'm not going to make it complicated. What is one thought you have about yourself that you're going to drop? Or replace it with something opposite. For example, if I think I'm not a good writer, because that's a skill I never built, I'm going to replace it with, I am a wonderful writer. Because if the future self that I perceive, if she's a writer, she has published a book, then I need to have that thought about myself from now on. So that thought can nurture that skill and I can become her. And then how you're treating yourself right now, one thing that you can drop, one thing that you can change about the way you treat yourself. So that's all we're going to do. And we are going to create this future self that we just mentioned today. So just to recap a little bit, we are going to use our mental faculties to create our future self, our future spouse, our future whatever. We use our mental faculties to create. Those are creative faculties: imagination, will/focus, perception, intuition, reason, memory. When we are creating ourselves, first we receive the image, we really connect with the image, then we hold the image, then we perceive that that is where I'm headed. I'm assuming that's who I'm becoming in 3 years. And then in terms of action, I'm going to, you can even do it in a way where you say, how do I need to talk about myself to become her? What do I need to think about myself to become her? And how do I need to treat myself to become her? You can do it that way, or you can look in your words, the way you talk about yourself, what needs to go. You can cleanse that. You can cleanse your thoughts. You can cleanse your treatment for yourself. Let's create this wonderful version that we all receive today individually. And let's remember that we are the highest creation. Let's live up to that potential. So that is all for today. If you have any question, reach out to me. You can just Google Alia the Love Coach if you're finding a random video somewhere. Or if you are part of my network, you know how to reach me. If this is the work you want to do, truly master the creation process, reach out to me and we can have a conversation about that. I'll see you all next Thursday. Sending so much love. Bye.